Still, one of the coolest intros to a game console ever. Hey, of course, we are talking about the OUYA and the possibility of some of those lost gems. Yes, there were a few lost gems on the OUYA coming to the Evercade VS. And before you dismiss this outright, we're going to talk a little bit about it first and why I think there's some real possibilities here. But first, let's talk about the OUYA. Remember summer of 2012, the official OUYA Kickstarter video, which you're seeing now, came out and wowed the entire gaming industry. It really did. Wowed me. So, and a bunch of other people. It's one of the fastest ever Kickstarters to hit their goal in the history of Kickstarter. I think it really put Kickstarter on the map in a lot of ways. So I went and got my Kickstarter OUYA, and I went to town, and I was a big believer in what they were going to do. And it was Android based, which is an open platform, and they were saying all the right things. Little did we know that what they were saying, a lot of it come from an uninformed CEO, and I won't go down that road. But for someone who has an OUYA, had it during the Kickstarter, actually played games on it, and play games on it today, like I'm still playing games on the OUYA, and that's a whole different story. I thought it would be cool because there's a lot of similarities in how games are made on the OUYA and how games are put on the Evercade. Even though the Evercade is emulation first, you can get native games put on the Evercade. Cathedral will be coming out soon, or if you're watching this past October of 2022, Cathedral's already on the system, and that was a native port. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So you ready to go? Let's do it right now. Oh yeah, by the way, this is the EverCanadian. I am Pete. Feel free to subscribe. I really appreciate it. Okay, like I said, you could dismiss this outright. You know, the OUYA, people will say it's a much powerful system than the Evercade VS. And in some aspects it is. It definitely is. But there are some similarities in their architecture. And I just want to touch on that a little bit. It's not about graphical powerhouses. It's the fact that they're both Android-based systems. And the interesting thing is the OUYA CPU is a 1.7 gigahertz quad-core ARM Cortex-A9, and the Evercade's CPU is an ARM Cortex-A7 quad-core processor running at 1.5 gigahertz. So they're very, very similar, both very power efficient, both are really in the same family of processors. So this is, what I'm thinking is not that out of the realms of possibilities. And they've said, Blaze Entertainment, many times they want to get native games on their system. And, you know, with Cathedral coming out, that's going to be a native port and more in the future. But I thought it'd be fun just to take a look at some of the games I've been enjoying on the OUYA, because I've been playing the OUYA a whole lot the last couple of years since a really cool person over in Europe develop a way to get around the fact that OUYA's store no longer exists, their servers no longer exist, so you can bypass that, go to a different server, and get access to a whole lot of OUYA games, but a whole lot of fan-made and retro and homebrew games. So if you want to get the actual stuff I'm talking about working on your OUYA, go over to OUYA World and you'll find Mr. Whiskey's information, but we're going to talk about the games. And the first one is Blue Kid 2. This game is fantastic. I absolutely love it. It's a combination of Mario, a little bit of Sonic, a lot of Adventure Island, Monster Boy. You can tell it's an homage of all of those games. And you can tell by when you get into the game, the graphics of this would be right at home on the Evercade. Just because the hardware on the OUYA is more powerful than Evercade VS, these games could easily run. They were on mobile at the time. And, you know, for me, these would be great additions to trying to get these games over on the Evercade as native ports. This game, as you can see, is beautiful. It's fantastic. I just love the look of it. It plays great. And these are the type of things, because the OUYA, without these little hacks you have to do to get in and play these games are lost to time. There were never physical versions of a lot of these games. So if you didn't play them on the OUYA, especially some that were OUYA exclusives during the time, you'll never play them. Unless you get an OUYA, hack it, and figure it out, right? Which it's not that hard. So the beauty about the Evercade is they could save a lot of these fun experiences and just really get these games over and have a lot of fun with them. And this is one I would encourage people, if you can find this out on the web, you can find the APK, I mean, go play it. But I would love to have these type of games, an OUYA collection on the Evercade. It's a no-brainer for me, because there was tons and tons of these games that look like this, that are not heavy games that would be perfect for the Evercade. And they could really start owning that category in the video game space, which is so freaking cool. One of the coolest things about what's going on in the OUYA community right now, they're having game jams. They've been having them last 2-3 years. You can go in and find these independent games being made, and you can download them from the store, but I'm just running through some images of some right now and things like that. But they have tons of these games from 2019, 2020, 2021 game jams that you can go play. I'm not saying all of these games should go on the Evercade or be a collection, but there's some that look really interesting and fun. They even got a rating system on it. I think it would be cool to see if some of these would be able to make a really neat little collection, like a Hindi's Heroes collection, but OUYA focused. And I'm going to download a lot of these games from Mr. Weisky's server and just play around with them and just see what they're all about. So that'll be probably in a future video, but the fact that the community is alive and well with all these types of homebrew games, it's really, really cool. And I think it's just, it's just wonderful to see this. And I would love to see, Maze Runner, for example. You tell me that can't run on the Evercade? It looks fun, right? It doesn't need to be a graphical powerhouse to run and be fun, right? So that's the whole main thing. Now, there's another game that I want to talk to you a little bit about that really excited me. Okay, this one looks like a perfect game for the Evercade VS. This game looks amazing. It plays great. Has a wonderful art style. It just feels like find this company and ask them if they can port Magic Rampage over, because I, for one, want to play this game. It has tons of replayability. I've been having a blast going through it. I've played it through a couple times now, and it's just super, super fun. You got a knight, you can go to different rooms, you can clear levels, you can switch out your weapons, you can go magic sword, you can do a bunch of cool stuff. But the game is just really, really awesome. And the art style doesn't look too taxing. It doesn't look like it needs a big heavy machine to run this. And we've seen in the past with some of the games that PlayStation 1 games, right? So these games obviously are a little bit more graphically intensive than perhaps some of the things we're used to seeing, but you can port it, right? You can get this ported, and I think the community would love to play this game, because I go through it. And of course it's a side-scrolling action game. It's right up my alley. You're playing as a knight going through this kind of cool castle and stuff like that, and it's just a really fun experience. So at the end of this, for me, it's just showcasing another ecosystem of games that are out there that people have probably completely written off, that there could be some really good games and good news stories for gamers. If they go out and take a look at what came out on the Evercade during that time that matches something their hardware could run, to go and find out if these games are available and get a collection, because people will talk about that. Trust me when I say it, the bigger gaming community will all of a sudden take notice if they go, what? The Evercade has an OUYA collection? I mean, come on. How cool is that? Once again, I'm Pete. Thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks so much for putting up with my crazy opinions and conjecture and just wish lists for Evercade. I really appreciate it. If you feel like dropping a subscribe, go for it. If you hit that like button, even better. But if you get in the comments, we're going to chat. I guarantee it. Unless you're a dick. And then, well, I'm not going to chat with you. Bye, everyone.